video, and in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, we are also with Charmander, my little Pokemon companion. Yes, he is a Pokemon, he is not a Yu-Gi-Oh card, but I'm allowed my little Charmander, he is my friend. But guys, in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, we're going to be talking about a specific topic because, well, I've been, for the last couple of weeks, playing something that I don't like, and it's something that I've been testing, I've been trying to give the benefit of a doubt, and this is something that I've hated for absolutely years, but people keep seeming to think it's a really good card, and this is Psy-Frame Gamma. And Psy-Frame Gamma, in my personal opinion, is not a good hand trap. It's a hand trap that does what it does, and it is a very decent hand trap in terms of early game and what it can do, but in my personal opinion, I think Psy-Frame Gamma is garbage. I think it is terrible, and like, you should just be playing other cards. Now, in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, I'm not just going to be slandering Psy-Frame Gamma. I'm going to be talking about the good points of the card, and I'm also going to be talking about the bad points of the card. And I wanted to kind of make this video today because, obviously, as I said, for the last few weeks, I've been testing Psy-Frame Gamma in my decks. I've been seeing if it is really worth playing again, and seeing as I have played it in the past, I have tried to play it in the past, because in the past I thought it would be somewhat decent, but even back then I was like, no, I still hate this card, I didn't really like it. But for the benefit of the doubt, for the current meta, I thought, okay, I'll try it again, I'll give it a go, and if it's good, it's good, if it's bad, it's bad. And in the end of it, I just really decided it was a bad card, but that could be different for you lot. So that's kind of why I wanted to make this video today, talking about if the card is good, if the card is bad, should you play the card, shouldn't you play the card. I wanted to make this video to kind of talk about that and give you guys an idea of my thought process behind Psy-Frame Gamma. So, without further ado though, guys, let's actually get into this video, and we're going to start off with the good points, because the good points are the area that I think you guys would want to hear first, and then we'll end off on the bad points, so you guys can hear what my thoughts are on the bad side of it. So, let's get into this. So starting off with the good points. The first good point of Psy-Frame Gamma is obviously it negates and destroys cards. This Psy-Frame Gamma is the only hand trap in the game that currently will destroy a card and negate the activation of it. So if your opponent tends to activate a card like Alistair the Invoker, you can go ahead and negate and destroy the Alistair without putting a light monster in the graveyard as well, because it actually summons itself to the board. So that's a good point of the card. It negates and destroys cards, which is really nice, allowing you to destroy random hand traps your opponent activates, or allowing you to destroy extra deck cards that your opponent uses. It will get rid of pretty much anything while also negating their effect, seeing as there's no other card in the game right now, any hand trap, that really does negate and destroy, outside of, I think, maybe Ghost Spell, but that only negates stuff that hits the graveyard, whereas Gamma is all monster effects. So yeah, that's the first good point of Psy-Frame Gamma. It allows you to just negate and destroy things, unlike a lot of other hand traps, which only really just negate the effect, or just banish a card from the graveyard without stopping the effect. It's a nice card because it really does do stuff like that. Another good point of the card is, on your turn 1, if you're using this card on your turn, say you've activated Magical Meltdown or something, and your opponent attempts to Ash it, you can reveal the Psy-Frame Gamma in your hand, special summon it to the board with another monster, negating the Ash Blossom, but that's the good point from before. This good point is the fact that you actually put 2 monster bodies on your board. So Psy-Frame Gamma does actually give you 2 bodies on the board, which will allow you to play around your opponent, well, won't allow you to play around your opponent, but will allow you to start playing the game to an extent, because let's say you've summoned 2 monsters. You've summoned the Psy-Frame Gamma and the Psy-Frame Driver, as you do with Psy-Frame Gamma. It allows you to summon 2 monsters with its effect after negate and destroy. Well, you've summoned 2 monsters now. Those 2 monsters are sitting on your board, but because if you have 2 monsters, you can potentially start comboing off in this instance. You could go ahead and make something like a Link Spider to go into a Link Spider, so you're able to go into Verti Anaconda, because that takes 2 effect monsters, excuse me. You could go ahead and make Needle Fiber to be able to summon a tuner from your deck to go even further from there. You could go ahead and make any Link 2 possible in the game with just Psy-Frame Gamma and Psy-Frame Driver, because you was able to summon 2 monsters. Now you could even go slightly further with this as well, because you could also normal summon a card from your hand, such as maybe the Alistair you searched and stuff along those lines, and go ahead and go into that Dragoons and also go and make other things, so you can also go further beyond there. So Psy-Framegear has that added effect of added perk of where it not only negates and destroys an effect, but it summons 2 monsters if you're using it on your turn, so it does allow you to actually do that as well. Because guess what? Having 2 monsters and being able to negate and destroy things is pretty decent. I will give Psy-Framegear that. That is one of its really big perks. It allows you to do that from your extra deck. Another good point about Psy-Framegear as well is that it was able to play around Called by the Grave. It's a card that basically said, I don't care about Called by the Grave because I don't go to the graveyard, with unlike every other hand trap where it says discard or send this card to the graveyard, Psy-Framegear activated in the hand and summoned onto the board. So you are able to play around cards like Called by the Grave that would just negate, that would banish and negate the effect of any hand trap, so your opponent continue playing. So that was a good point about Psy-Framegear. It was always able to play around Called by the Grave, unlike majority of other hand traps, because they discard it. And also, one more point I will add, which kind of needs another card to actually insinuate its full combo, is that this card can technically be activated from the hand if you control monsters, as long as you control a Psy-Frame Lambda. So that's another good thing as well. If you do control Psy-Frame Lambda, you are able to go slightly further, because you can go ahead and make the Psy-Frame Lambda, and then be able to use Psy-Framegear in your hand while you control monsters. Now, those are the only really good points I see about Psy-Framegear. The fact that it negates and destroys, so it's the only hand trap that can really do that. The fact that it gives you 2 monsters on board, so you can potentially, if it's your turn, use those monsters to go ahead and go into link plays, or maybe make an Omega or something as the original intent of Psy-Frames. Also, it did play around cards like Called by the Grave. Now, those are the main good points of the card. They are good points that do facilitate it being usable and making it good, but what are the bad points of the card? The points that make me not want to play it. Well, the first big bad point of this card that I think everybody should realize is you can't activate this effect if you control monsters. And yes, I said you could if you controlled Lambda, because Psy-Frame Lambda is a link monster that allows you to activate Psy-Frames if you control monsters, but if you don't have Lambda, your Psy-Framegears in hand are deader than dead. They're so dead you can't do anything with them. You're literally just staring at a blank card that cannot be activated. Like, it's so bad that literally, and a lot of people actually do this, if you're playing Psy-Framegear, people will purposely wait, if you're playing Invoked especially, for you to resolve your search with Magical Meltdown, to search your Alistair, to then be able to wait for you to normal summon Alistair before you use an Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, because if you've got the Gamma in your hand, well, that Ash Blossom is just going to go to waste. They're going to give you 2 monsters, and then guess what? You get to go off. But if they specifically wait for you to activate the Alistair effect, well, you Ash Blossom them, they Ash Blossom you, and then it's just like, that Gamma in your hand is dead, isn't it? Yep. Because you're controlling a monster and now Psy-Framegear doesn't work. Like, that's the biggest red flag to me, and always has been the biggest red flag to me with Psy-Framegear. It can't be used if you control monsters. It's just always been one of those big things with me, and that's kind of one of the big reasons why I don't like Psy-Framegear in the main deck, or in the deck at all, because it's just really dead 90% of the time. Another really big thing with it is you have to run a Garnet. You have to run a Garnet with Psy-Framegear, which is really bad at times, because let's say you draw Gamma, well, you don't draw Gamma, but you draw the Garnet. Well, you've literally just drawn that dead Garnet, that Psy-Frame driver, that does really nothing in your hand, because, well, I wanted to potentially have an extra negate on my turn. You're playing an additional card that does nothing for you. It's a level 6, so you can't even normal summon it. It doesn't really help you in any way, shape, or form. And if you've drawn Gamma, if you don't draw Gamma and you draw the driver instead, well, that driver could have been anything else, and it's just like, well, could have just potentially used a different hand trap, because then I would have had more space. That card could have potentially been like an other Alistair, or it could have, if you're not playing free, of course, like, you always play free, but something like that. Or it could have been a Pot of Extravagance to let you draw cards. It could have been an Upstart Goblin to let you draw 1 card. You see what I'm saying? It could have been an additional extender in your deck to allow you to go slightly further, but no, it's a Psy-Frame driver, so you've drawn it and it's a dead card. Another bad part about the Psy-Frame driver bit is Gamma can only activate if you've got a Psy-Frame driver in your hand, deck, or graveyard. if your Psy-Frame driver is banished, which 9 times out of 10 it will be, because if you've used the Gamma effect and during your opponent's turn, that driver's banished. That driver's gone. You're not going to be able to use the other 2 Psy-Frame Gammas in your deck because, well, I've banished my driver. Gamma can only activate if you have Psy-Frame driver in the deck, so if you've gotten rid of the Psy-Frame driver from the main deck, or it's in the banished zone, well, good luck using those other 2 Gammas in your deck. They can't do anything with them. You literally cannot do anything with a Psy-Frame Gamma after you've used 1 Gamma. So that's 2 dead cards in your deck after you've used a Gamma. After you've used 1 Gamma, it takes away 2 of your cards in your deck. You're playing 4 cards in your deck, and 2 of them always become dead after you've used 1 of them, or you're just going to draw a Garnet, which is absolutely dumb. It's just bad. It's not good. Like, you're basically turning 1 Garnet into 3 Garnets whenever you activate 1 card. And that's bad. Why would you want to activate a card effect? Why would you want to play a card that, sure, it's 1 Garnet at the beginning, but after the first activation, you're playing 2 more Garnets, and it's just like, it's terrible. It's not going to be good, and it just doesn't do anything after turn 1 because of that. You've just got 2 dead monsters left in your deck, and it just doesn't mean anything. And going even further into this topic, so why these cards are actually Garnets as well after you've used the first Gamma, well, you can't normal or special summon Psy-Frame monsters. The hand traps cannot be normal or special summoned. Or normal summoned or set, sorry. You can't special summon them through effects. All Psy-Frame monsters, other than the drivers, require you to use an effect to summon a Psy-Frame. So if you've drawn a Gamma and you don't have a driver in the deck, or you've drawn Gamma and you don't have any other summons, well, you see that Gamma in your hand? It's deader than dead. It's like you've gotten rid of the driver. You've drawn the Gamma. Well, I could just normal summon this Gamma or set this Gamma, right? No, you can't. You can't use that Gamma because, well, it can't be normal summoned or set. So you can't really utilize the Gamma in that way because guess what? It needs to be special summoned via an effect, and you don't have that effect to summon it. You can't summon it via its own effect because 9 times out of 10 the other Gamma would have banished the driver because of the end phase. You don't have normally a way to summon it, maybe outside of E-Tele from your deck, in majority of decks that you play it in. And if you're not playing E-Tele, well, the card is just absolutely dead anyway then, because, oh, I'm now playing Garnet, and it's just like I've drawn a dead card, and I really needed a different card. I needed something to set. I needed a playable card of some kind. So it's just like, you can't normal summon or set the card, so it just does absolutely nothing if you draw it. Like, literally, it's such a bad card because of that, because you can't normal summon or special summon the card. So, like, there's just so many bad things about the Psy-Frame package that it's just like, what's the point in playing it? Like, honestly, why would I bother playing Psy-Frame Gamma over any other hand trap in the game other than to just have a potential destroy? Like, it's not worth it because, like, Gamma is a very easy card to play around. It really is, because all you gotta do is wait for your opponent to normal summon 1 time, 1 card, and it's just like, well, I guess I'm done, I can't really stop that now. And it's just like, looking at the bad points, looking at the good points, looking at how, yes, it can destroy and negate, yes, it can potentially give you 2 monsters, yes, it can play around Called by the Grave, but there are other hand traps in the game that can play around Called by the Grave. Nibiru, for instance, your opponent summons 5 times, well, you clear all their monsters anyway, so it's got kind of the similar thing with Psy-Frame Gamma. It removes cards. Infinite Impermanence, it's an actual trap card, so your opponent can't play around that card with Called by the Grave. It negates and destroys, like, as I said, Nibiru, it removes cards on the board, so it does pretty much similar, but it just doesn't negate. Like, just looking at other options to the good points, it's just like, yes, there are cards that can play around Called by the Grave, yes, there are cards that do removal, yes, there are cards that can give you more advantage. Yeah, like, look, Nibiru does the same thing. It summons, removes, and also just in general is a really big monster, so it's just like, why not? But just like, looking at the Psy-Frame package, looking at all the other options in the game, looking at the fact that I could literally play any other hand trap that I could which I think is just better because you could literally just slap that card face down, look at your opponent and be like, pass. Like, yeah, that's not a good play, that's not a great play, but at least I can play the card when it's in my hand and I have no monster and I have monsters on the board. Like, That's the thing with Psy-Frame Gamma. It's way too restrictive. It's way too situational. Gamma is a card that, yes, has good points. It is a card that can be used. But in my personal opinion, the card just does nothing. The card is dead 90% of the time. After turn 1, you're never going to use it because you'll probably have a monster in your main monster zone. If you've banished the driver, if you've already banished the driver, well, have fun playing basically 2 garnets in your deck after that you can't even summon. It's just like, it's a good card, it's just not a good card in this game. In its own deck, in Psy-Frames, the card is insane, I'll give it that. In Psy-Frames, in the Psy-Frame deck in general, card is amazing, all Psy-Frames in the Psy-Frame deck are great. But outside of the Psy-Frame deck, it's just such a dead card. You could play Lambda with it to make it somewhat playable. But at the same time, points still stand where, well, sure, I make the Lambda. I look at my opponent. I have a Lambda. Oh, cool, they imperm the Lambda. If you ain't got, what, the Epsilon, the one that negates traps, well, now your whole board's done. And also, guys, it's like, this is a big debate, and yes, Lambda can search Gamma, yes, Lambda can do things, you have to be playing stuff like the redo a Lambda combo to make that good, but it's just like, in the long run, in my opinion, it's not worth the time, it's not worth the effort, it doesn't do enough for me to consider it being a worthy card to play. But guys, that's just my personal opinions though. The card, it does have its benefits, but it has too many negatives in my opinion for it to be worth playing. So yeah, guys, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments section below though. Do you think this card is really good? Do you think this card is really bad? Do you play Psy-Frame Gamma? Do you think the card is just way too many bricks? Do you think it just isn't as good as stuff maybe like Nibiru, Imperm, Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, DD Crow, anything along those lines? Would you play those hand traps over Psy-Frame Gamma? I would love to hear your thoughts because Psy-Frame Gamma, yes, as I said, it is a decent card, but I just don't like the card. I've never liked the card. I've tried it so many times and tried to make it decent, but in the end, I just keep coming back to the conclusion that it's just not worth the effort. But guys, yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell me what your thoughts are on Psy-Frame Gamma in the comments section below, and I will see you guys in the next one. We're all about one, signing out. Gamma just isn't worth it, guys. Later all.